welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, December 21st, 2020. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. As the number of new COVID-19 cases continue to increase here in SVG, the Ministry of Health is now looking at additional measures to tackle the challenges faced. Only today, the police issued a bulletin for a British national who is said to have breached quarantine. However, this was followed up with a later alert that the individual was completing the quarantine period in Central Leeward. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Simone Kisa-Beach said the Ministry of Health works closely with the police on matters concerning the coronavirus and they are quickly informed of any breaches.
Because the aim of having a 72-hour test coming from these high-risk countries is to reduce the likelihood of persons coming positive and turning up, coming with a negative test, and then turning up to be positive afterwards. So we are asking persons to try as much as to comply with the 72-hour requirement. We understand that is difficult, but it is for all of our benefit. If you come without that, you might be asked to stay an extra 2 days in the hotel mandatory quarantine at your cost. The British citizen arrived last week and had completed their 5-day. They arrived with a negative PCR and then breached quarantine. As soon as they were sent home, released from their 5-day, and we discovered that they were not in quarantine this morning, in their home quarantine. We normally have all of that information, where they're supposed to be, and so on. And we just want to remind persons of the importance of staying in quarantine. When you leave the hotel at the end of 5 days, you must stay in your home unless specifically authorized to leave. And persons are wrong. Guests, anybody coming in, family members, friends, do not encourage persons to leave the quarantine. You could be putting yourself at risk for doing that, and you're endangering all other Vincentians.
As it regards the policing of persons in quarantine, Dr. Kisa-Beach said while they do not want to be rigid, if it has to come to that, then they will have to hire additional health staff and involve the police.
Another thing would be some islands are using a wristband, which is a monitor of your activity to ensure that you don't leave. So it's something involving geofencing, where there's an alert if you leave the area you're supposed to be in. That there are implications in terms of privacy, in terms of freedoms with that, but that is also something that we are looking into. In the interim, the other option besides increasing our healthcare worker force and the police to stand guard outside somebody's house, which we do not think is feasible, would be for persons to be kept in a hotel at their cost for 14 days if persons are unwilling to maintain their quarantine. That being said, it's not the majority of persons comply, but unfortunately there are some persons who seem to not understand the importance of complying.
Meanwhile, yesterday, Vincentian who traveled to Grenada with a negative PCR test was reported to have then tested positive after 5 days in quarantine. The CMO said that they have since followed up with that individual and contact tracing was instituted here in SVG. However, relatives have tested negative.
We were unofficially informed over the weekend, and we immediately started contact tracing here in St. Vincent, and to date we have identified her close contacts, and we have done PCR testing on them, and they're all negative. According to us, we tested that person on the 12th of, the person traveled on the 12th from St. Vincent. The person had a negative PCR done in St. Vincent on the 9th, traveled to Grenada on the 12th, and was tested on the Thursday, the 17th, sorry, which was a good 6 days after arrival in Grenada.
Dr. Kisa Beach is reminding persons to be responsible and adhere to all protocols to ensure the safety of all citizens. She said the ministry is also closely monitoring the situation in the UK, where a variant of the coronavirus has been detected. St. Vincent and the Grenadines and other member countries of the OECS stand to benefit from a $50 million loan to help with their response to the coronavirus. The money is being provided by the Caribbean Development Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB. The CDB's Vice President of Operation, Diana Wilson-Patrick, and General Manager of the IDB Caribbean Country Department, Teresa Turner-Jones, signed the loan agreement today. The funds will provide economic resources to Antigua and Barbuda, the Commonwealth of Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines to financing a program to help reduce mortality and morbidity from COVID-19 and to ensure minimum levels of quality of life and health for vulnerable people in the beneficiary countries. In addition, it will provide support for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. To achieve this, the program will have health, social, and economic areas as its three main components of focus. Under the health component, the loan will strengthen response leadership, support the implementation and operationalization of cross-sector emergency management and monitoring mechanisms, and support COVID-19 transmission control and monitoring protocols, including through the supply of medical equipment and supplies. The expansion of safety net services using existing cash transfer programs in each OECS country is a key element of the social component. This includes conditional cash transfers, transfers for persons living with disabilities, school attendance, grants for vulnerable population, school meal support, and non-contributory pensions, protection from the vulnerable population working in the formal and informal sectors who are not part of existing cash transfer programs is also captured. The economic component will provide financing to improve the short-term financial capacity of SMEs and access to production-oriented finance for economic recovery. In other news, a malfunctioning crane that has caused disruptions to the offloading of cargo at the Camden Park port is to be remedied. But Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves said on WFM yesterday that the crane will not be operational until next month. Last Wednesday, December 16th, the problematic crane resulted in some 80 containers not being offloaded and had to be returned. The Prime Minister said, however, that the Minister with responsibility for ports, Julian Francis, informed him that some containers were offloaded yesterday.
That may not be solved until sometime after the middle of January. The crane failed some time ago, and what has happened is this: in these two circumstances, where we had two boats had to be turned back, their crane also failed. In one case, one crane at one part of the ship, they go to St. Lucia, they unloaded, and then come back, shift the goods now.
The Prime Minister said that it is no fault of the customers, hence they should not bear the cost for any disruptions.
The customer should not be paying for any errors, whether for which the ship has responsibility or the port has responsibility. I myself reached out and spoke to one of the Graves, one of the two principal persons in Graves. They're the agents for Tropical, the one which is coming back from the Virgin Islands with the goods. And he assures me that there's not going to be, once everything is done speedily this evening, there's not going to be any dislocation of any significance.
Dr. Gonzalez assured the public that all measures are being taken at all levels to ensure that the problem is resolved.
You know me well enough to know, and there are things which I cannot say, that I raised already certain questions in relation to management.
Yes.
With management, at the level of the board, chief executive officer, and also I raised a particular query with Minister Francis, and I, as a previous minister, I have come to certain conclusions because of what things which were told to me, and things which were told to me were not true.
Yes.
Be assured that requisite action is being taken,
okay,
and will be taken further.
Antigua and Barbuda's Foreign Affairs Minister Epchet Green has welcomed the return of the Antigua-based carrier Liat to Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines after both countries restricted the airline for a few weeks. Liat restored commercial passenger flights across the region late last month, but announced early in December that services to Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines would be suspended until new approvals were given. In a statement, Liat said that prior to its suspension of services due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the airline had been operating to these destinations on valid approvals which have not expired. The decision from both countries drew airy from the government, who called the reasons sabotage and trickery, adding that they were seemingly intended to ensure that Liat does not succeed. CARICOM was asked to intervene in the matter to facilitate an amicable solution. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, responding to the suspension, had explained that the airline had not met certain necessary requirements and had gone ahead and publicized its schedule before making the necessary clearances with the authorities at the Argyle International Airport. Liat has since announced that St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Barbados have dropped their objections and will have Liat land at their respective airports. Speaking to the Antigua Observer media, the Antigua and Barbuda's Foreign Affairs Minister hailed the move as a huge benefit to the airline's operations and to the concept of regional integration. The minister also positively commented on the relationship between Antigua and Barbuda and both countries, calling this incident nothing but a disagreement. The Traffic Angels successfully staved off some tough competition to retain the championship trophy in the senior choir competition of the police caroling contest last Friday evening. And debutants, the Calico Police Youth Club Carolers, dethroned the 2019 champions in the junior category. The competition was held at the Central Police Station and featured 8 senior choirs and 7 in the junior division competing for championship trophies. The 2 carolers that catapulted the Traffic Angels to the top position were O Come All Ye Faithful in the traditional category and Unique Christmas in Vinci in the original category. Western carolers took the second position with renditions of O Come Emmanuel and It's Gonna Be Okay, while training carolers placed third with Do You See What I See and Rona Christmas. Dressed in flamboyant outfits, the Traffic Angels were again adjudged the best dressed choir and also copped the best traditional carol title. They tied with Western carolers for best speech. The title for best original carol was won by Western carolers. Here are snippets from top performances.
Oh, come, let us adore Him, Christ the Lord. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel. Do you see what I see? This year the pandemic hit we. Nearly mash up Christmas in Vinci. Then I heard about get dengue things. Mash the powder side, clean up the sky. We are back today. Where the carolers is here. We had to sing again.
And the Nine Mornings Committee at Point, which turned on their lights last week, are hoping to retain the crown in this year's competition. This year's decoration highlight the COVID-19 pandemic, dengue fever outbreak in SVG. There are light styles as bicycles, Christmas trees, cruise ships, Santa Claus, the ICU, Corona, as well as hand wash stations. The Point Light Up ceremony features several activities, including song and persons sharing what Christmas means to them.
Yes, you're celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. That is what Christmas means to me. Amen. And eating and drinking with your neighbors, with your friends and neighbors and loved ones. That is what Christmas means to me.
We'll go to bed, and who get the best dream will eat the bread. The Trinidadian declare, he dream he went up to heaven, and he lying with an archangel. The Vincentian declare how he went to a dance and he scored with woman like hell.
And everything, oh yeah, will be like a holiday.
The birth of Jesus Christ. God gave his only son into this world to save us from our sins.
Sign Hill Junction is now lit. The Lighted Up Committee turned on the lights last Saturday evening. The new parliamentary representative for the area, Fitzgerald Bramble, and Vice President of the National Nine Mornings Committee, Lennox Bowman, were present to usher in the lighting up. Larissa Pogzikid tells us more in this report.
It was an enjoyable evening for Sign Hill residents who came out to witness the lighting up at the junction of Sign Hill. Member of the Sign Hill Lighting Up Committee, Derek Woodley, said this year they had to improvise with lights as there was a delay in the arrival of lights from overseas. Nonetheless, he said they were ready to turn on the lights.
And you know the situation with the boat coming in, we had some problems because we had the lights on the boat, so we didn't get them. So we had to fix some of the lights that we had from before to put things together. So I hope when we turn on the light tonight, you will enjoy. Light up the country, light it up.
Vice President of the National Nine Mornings Committee, Lennox Bowman, said Sign Hill has always participated in the lighting up, bringing the community to life with its activities.
For many years, this intersection has provided more than just lights. It has provided the Christmas feel as the entrance into the city of Kingstown.
Bowman again urged persons to comply with the health protocols and said that there is a special category in the competition in wake of COVID-19.
In all the communities, we have what we call the best facial mask competition. And there's a prize for that. I think it's $1,000 and down. And then there is the best community, the community which best observe the protocols of COVID.
And Parliamentary Representative Fitzgerald Bramble said he is pleased with the committee has put in and encouraged the youths to get more involved in the activities.
Involved in these kinds of activities, help with the wire bending, help with screwing in the bulbs. Because what you're going to see here tonight is a symbol of excellence. That is a reflection of our community. Over the years, whether in sports, culture, you name it, the Sign Hill community has always been known for excellence.
And Santa Claus was also on site giving out goodies.
Silence Santa for all the stalwarts from Sign Hill who passed away.
Every night until Christmas Eve, the committee will be putting on an activity. This includes entertainment and a movie night. For SVG-TV News, Larissa Pogzikid.
And Vinleg has provided 5 $2,000 to the Salvation Army for its 2020 annual Christmas Kittle Appeal. The company said the donation, which is made annually, is part of the company's outreach program that seeks to provide support to the less fortunate in the community. Communications Officer Tamara Job-Sprott said that VINLEC is honored to provide assistance to the Salvation Army as the organization makes a real difference in the lives of so many people. She noted that this has been quite challenging for all in society, but more so those who are disadvantaged. Meanwhile, Captain Ernest Gatchling of the Salvation Army said the funds will greatly assist in their mission this year. He pointed out that they have already begun to distribute packages across the country. Captain Gatchling adding that the Salvation Army is grateful for this donation and the support which VINLEC continues to give. Earlier this year, VINLEC contributed $2,300 to the Salvation Army to help persons that were challenged because of the COVID-19 pandemic.